Well, hello there, and welcome to Florida in December. This is a nice day out here and a really beautiful afternoon. And we finally got our weather up to the upper 70s, low 80s around here. So it's really, really warmed up and been very nice. So I want to welcome all of you to the second installment of the Southwest Florida Writers Group. And this is the first um, post that I'm going to do that will focus on the novel revision process. I'm working on the novel revision process because I'm actually writing it or in the process of doing all that on novels. This can be applicable to writing poetry or short stories or nonfiction, anything too. I also want to really hone it down, and I'm going to talk about the three types of publishing too. And I want to give a shout out to a local author, Kristin Owens. She's a local Florida writer and author who recently provided an excellent workshop at the Jacaranda branch for Sarasota County Libraries on the topic of marketing and publishing. So some of this is drawn from that, and some from my own experience, and some from research too. All right, let's get into it. So the three types of publishing are self-publishing, a hybrid approach to publishing, and traditional publishing. I'm going to go in on all three. Let's start with number one, self-publishing. This has been a rapidly growing field too, as we've moved into the online format too. And Kristen shared with us that in the year 2011, there were about only 2,000 published works out there that were self-published. And then you skip about 20 years or so, in 2023, the self-publishing field has grown to now about 2 million 2 million self-published works out there. Of course, Amazon has a lot to do with that too, and other online ways to buy self-published books. The term indie publishing and self-publishing are often used interchangeably. Indie publishing just means independent publishing. I know that can be kind of confusing a little bit. The other way to self-publish is what's called a vanity press way. That's kind of an old idea, and it's gotten kind of shady, I would say, too. It's not really a desirable way. You end up paying a lot of money for that. So that's something I would recommend that you avoid too. Also, the pros of publishing your own novel. And I'm going to go into pros and challenges for each of these three. Is actually for self publishing, you have a lot of freedom. You can make all the decisions, which is really great. You can choose a book cover, for example. You can design it yourself if you want. I would recommend that you get somebody professional to do it too, but it'll be up to you. You can also consider ways to edit your work and get it marketed. You have all of these options, and you would have to research and explore. The library is a good place to ask about resources for that as well. Print on demand is an option. And for all self publishing, a literary agent is not required. So you're skipping over that and getting more of the revenue for yourself. Okay, the second option is the hybrid approach. This is actually not a very new approach. For many, many years, writers have negotiated with publishing houses for part of the expenses, and part of what they'll be responsible for and what the publishing house would be responsible for too. But the term hybrid publishing is fairly new, and it's looked at a little bit differently, and also regulations about keeping people safe and copyright and so on are in the works now to revising all of that. Um, and let's see, the upsides for this is that it includes a little bit more control on your end, but also on the publisher's end too in the process. So you're sharing more of that. There's also more ability to really negotiate what you want outside. A hybrid approach is outside of a traditional publishing approach. But also with self-publishing, the writer is again removing that middle person, the literary agent. So you're going to have more of the proceeds too. So, okay. The challenges are mainly that the writer has more responsibility for the completion and the success of the work, um, but you can move things along. I mean, one of the pros about that is that you can probably move things along more quickly than in traditional publishing. The method also requires payment for some important services that you would either just come up front and do or negotiate with the publishing house, such as having an editor or a designer or marketing expertise. That can help you with that. And the biggest challenge, I think, too, is that you have no distribution, too. So before I go into the third way of the traditional publishing, I really want to mention what I mean by distribution for those of you who are really new to these terms. Uh, Self-publishing and hybrid publishing, they often have no easy or effective way to get that printed book once it's that physical item or an ebook. Um, brought out to the bookshelf or a bookstore, to get on the shelf there. Whereas the big traditional publishing houses already have those channels of distribution set up too. Amazon is included in that too, and they do have a publishing house themselves. So they've already had this set up, and if they're already committed to working with the author to get that book in print form, an ebook form, and maybe audiobook form, and maybe in many languages throughout the world, which would be great, huh? They will promote the work like crazy because that's more for them as well, too. So they've invested in your work too, and invested in you for that. If you go with something other than traditional publishing, you would then have to plan on somehow distributing the works yourself. And the more that you are a go-getter and can do that and go to the bookstores and so on and really talk it up, and social media, of course, is important too. Um, then the more successful you can be. Many, aren't successful, but it takes a lot of work. So just be prepared for that and have a plan. Okay, so now the third way to publish is traditional publishing. And this is a method that requires no money for the author, from the author, not for the author, from the author. Yeah. So let me restate that. The author pays nothing to go to traditional publishing in dollars. They do have to pay with time and energy and motivation, however. They are working with that publishing house team to get the work out there and in the best format it can and in the best way too. So I'd say about, and different researches say that around 90% of books are published by the big five publishing houses too. And in each of these five publishing houses, they have affiliates as well. And so small presses within there too. And these are mostly headquartered in New York City and London too, but they are international in scope, which is, I think, pretty cool. So worldwide, exposure is pretty important if it ever goes that far for you. And I wish it will too. You've likely heard of all five and many of the presses as well. The five are Penguin Random House, Hachette, HarperCollins, Macmillan, Simon and Schuster, too. So the advantages of traditional publishing, including payment, you would get in advance, and you can negotiate royalties too, of course. You also get an expert editor and a whole team to work with on your design and marketing, going back and forth on the book cover and the design of the book itself and how it's laid out, the format and so on. They'll help you create an excellent cover. And you know what? I think that's really important because everybody does judge a book by its cover. And as a librarian, I can tell you this is true too. Librarians do it as well. And I think they do a good job of portraying what's in the book by what's on the cover, who it's going to go to what kind of genre it's going to cover. You also have a guaranteed number of books published. You will negotiate that, and that's called a print run too. So that would be in your contract as well. The challenges have mainly to do with time and difficulty in breaking in this field. And sometimes it feels like there's a huge wall that you have to get into. So don't worry about that. First and foremost, you need to find a very helpful and knowledgeable and friendly literary sorry, agent. And there are books at the library. There's resources online all about getting an agent and how to find a good agent in the genre that you are selecting to write in. Um, and how to write a fantastic query letter that will get their attention. Also, there's advice for breaking into the field in books and resources too. So we're likely going to do that in a future post and go into some of those resources. And I'm glad to share whatever I have with you on that. Um, just know that it can take years to get a newly written book from that rough draft to the published format. So if you're opting for traditional publishing of a novel like I am, it's a good way to practice patience and perseverance and just keep going step by step. And I'm here to hopefully motivate you and help you keep going and things that you can come back to and to get resources and so on. So keep you motivated. Oh, and it's also really hard to get on the New York Times bestseller list. That's a good goal way down the road, right? If you are self-published, most of the authors that are on the bestseller list, the New York Times bestseller list, are actually published by the Big Five. So that's another, pro of going that way. So for me, I'm going with the traditional publishing, and I'm almost ready to seriously scout for a literary agent to find a match for my work and myself to work with. And in the next post, I'm going to talk about finding a literary agent too. And maybe we'll have time to go in a little bit on the query letter and so on, but I'll keep you informed about my progress and what I'm doing and what I'm learning along the way too. So tell me, what type of publishing do you choose to do? I would love to know. And you can comment and write about it there. I love interactivity. We can talk together. And if you join the Southwest Florida Writers Group, we will have online meetings as we get our team together and formed too. In the meantime, I hope to see you soon. And I tell you to keep writing, no matter if it's the holidays. Writing doesn't take a holiday. Your characters need to keep moving forward. So keep writing and happy holidays. Bye for now.